Welcome back. It's Daybreak on Arise News, and it's time for the press preview. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. We begin with our sister publication, This Day newspaper, as usual. And the leading headline here says, Akande, President Buhari promised to pick Tinubu as running mate in 2015 and then didn't. Chronicles of how Osibanjo eventually emerged. Now, former governor attacks Adebanjo, Faleye and others. And the leading picture on This Day newspaper this morning is the unveiling of Akande's participation, and that's the Senate President's former Minister of Science and Technology, with the President and also Chief Bisi Akande at the public presentation of Chief Akande's autobiography titled My Participants in Lagos State. More headlines on This Day newspaper. The LCCI and the NAC-EMA charge Nigerians on mass vaccination following Omicron. Also above the nameplate of This Day this morning, in reciprocal action, the federal government reduces Emirates flights to once weekly. Also, INEC says political parties are to bear cost of direct primaries. There's more on that story on page 47.
A quick look at the Guardian newspaper. Save us from killers. Bandits, Sultan Christian Association of Nigeria, Jamana to Islam tell President Buhari. COVID-19 cases surge as Omicron spreads in Africa, and federal government to fast track $2.3 billion Nigeria's Siemens deal.
The Nation this morning, Buhari, how Akande and Osaba others lost in 2003. The AD governor's victim of Osabanjo's political double cross, as they say. Also, Sultan to Nigerians, stop blame game, unite against enemies. The CAM boss urges security agencies to learn from the US. Ogun and Lagos on collision course over light rail. Also, troops rescue 20 policemen abducted by terrorists, and the main photo is of the Kano-Maiduguri road that's been inaugurated, just over 106 kilometres.
And the Punch, newspaper this morning leads with the federal government beginning giving booster shots, and also the US donates 2.5 million doses of vaccine. The federal government records 1,072 COVID-19 cases in 10 days, and the UK insists that the travel ban is evidence-based. Meanwhile, the AU Centre says you cannot talk of booster jabs when some people haven't received any jab. The leading picture on the Punch newspaper this morning is that of the President, Muhammadu Buhari, and Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and his Ogun State counterpart with the Chief of Naval Staff and other officers during the President's inauguration of Navy ships, boats, and helicopter at the Naval Dockyard of Victoria Island, Lagos. More stories on the Punch newspaper. Power generation drops by 11196 MW. Sector's growth falls by 45%.
Now, on the international scene, The Guardian. Johnson accused of misleading watchdog over flat redecoration.
The Independent calls for fresh probe into PM's flat refurbishment. I think this is one of the most famous flats in the world at the moment. And also Sienna Miller reveals living nightmare brought on by phone hacking scandal.
And the Daily Mail leading with Tories' Plan B mutiny. Up to 50 MPs to vote against new curbs as the Prime Minister is hit by more Christmas party claims and fresh row over number 10 decor. And as he's getting all that hit, his partner, Carrie, arrived at the hospital yesterday and has a baby girl. Gives Boris something to celebrate. More on that on page 8 of Daily Mail.
And in the Eye, Tory leader contenders circle PM in peril.
And the Daily Express once again, Boris Johnson dominating it with Boris under the cosh. A rising Tory revolt has left the Prime Minister fighting on three fronts as he struggles to regain his authority, but happily will take some family time as Carrie gives birth to baby girl. Plus, boost for Britain, £2 billion deal signed to build bullet trains. That's the Express this morning.
I'd like to say I'm so happy for Boris Johnson. He's had a really tough year or 2 years. Well, for the press preview, let's bring in Emmanuel Bello, who joins us from our outside studio this morning. Emmanuel, good morning. Good to have you as always. Beginning with this day newspaper, one of the headlines just above the nameplate this morning. In reciprocal action, the federal government has reduced Emirates flights to once a week. This is kind of a tennis game. We've had this back and forth for months now. Emirates comes and they announce, okay, we've come back, we're starting our flights again, and something else happens. And then they announced a few days ago that they've come back fully and they've resumed flights to and from Nigeria. And then they go back and give Air Peace just one flight a week to the Sharjah airport. And now Nigeria has retaliated. How is this going to end? I think there needs to be a discussion at this point.
Yes, good morning, and like we say here, thank God it's Friday. Yes, there is need for a better, bilateral kind of trade deals discussion between these two entities, and of course, so that business are not hurt and individuals too do not suffer. In trying to retaliate, you have to also take a whole lot of things into cognizance. But then you have to also understand the action of the federal government, looking at the fact that they want a situation where there will be some balancing act here. Nigeria has always suffered when it comes to this kind of relationship. We're this kind of people. We accept our neighbors, we accept every other person, we're cool with everyone, but of course we suffer all sorts of things. But this is I think maybe that's why this day is actually putting into the cover. This is the first time you are seeing, the Nigerian government actually taking a decision against, for business interests, for the nation's business interests. But we have to also consider the losses of some of these kind of decisions, and like you say, find some kind of understanding between the two, the two business deals, and so that there will be free flow of these businesses, especially now, given that you're having all these travel bans and the tourism industry is suffering, the aviation industry is also suffering. You probably don't need anything that will further deepen the crisis of the kind of economic crisis that is coming out of the COVID crisis itself.
Right, Emmanuel. I mean, the travel bans are getting too much. Well, today is the 10th, and the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency in Nigeria has said eligible Nigerians should visit their health centers to get vaccinated. If you've been vaccinated twice before, today you can start to get your booster shot, and only Pfizer is approved for that booster shot. But let's take a look at the Guardian newspaper, Emmanuel. Save us from killers, bandits, Sultan, the Christian Association of Nigeria, Nasrul Islam tell President Buhari. Now, Emmanuel, I think it was about on Monday or Tuesday, at least, it was in the news, at least 23 people were burned to death by some terrorists. Fast forward to Wednesday, in Niger State, 9 more people who were praying in their mosque, getting ready to pray, were attacked by certain people, shut down. And one wonders, people are dying every day in different parts of the country. Casualties of silence. We hardly hear anything from the president about these pockets of death. Is it a failure of leadership?
It is. And you pick the Guardian newspaper this morning, you are confronted with this story, so saddening, and the paper too, very clear about it. You don't even really need to read the stories. Everything is outlined there, including the figures. The Sokoto State government saying that in just one day, 80 people killed. It's almost, you don't even have this kind of level of casualties in a state of war. When a country is at war, you don't even have this kind of casualties. Whereas the president is in Lagos, attending to a book launch and talking about reminiscing on his political career. A lot of people get angry with this president when you read stories like this, and you don't even hear anything very strongly from the presidency. It's a bit disheartening. That's just the mild way to put it. But now you have the Sultan of Sokoto himself weighing on this and saying, look, President Buhari, your job is to, your first job and the first of any elected official of his capacity is to protect the people. That's the job of the president. And if you fail at that job of protecting your people, then please, you have no other chest beating to make. You don't have any other thing to say. This is the reason why people voted you into power. And for this president, he ran actually on, on this, that he's good with this, he's going to protect our people, the people and all of that, being a general himself, a former military general. So this is the Sultan, also a strong voice, not just in the north, but in the polity, saying, save us. Who else do we run to? They've been talking in the past that individuals can actually provide for their security, protect themselves, cooperate with the security force. But the Sultan thinks differently. He's telling the president that, no, it's your job to save us from bandits. And the Guardian newspaper bringing it out in very, very bold relief. You have all those numbers. They're very staggering numbers and extraordinary situations where people are gone down in their residences, in their workplaces of worship, and all of that. So what's going on? Anyone picking the Guardian newspaper this morning will just come face to face with what many Nigerians have been facing in their daily lives, the crisis of insecurity, the fact that no one feels safe anymore. And now we are heading into the festive season. So this call is a very strong one. It's one that I don't think the presidency should even try to get around it. Of course, they'll always come out to say we're doing our best. It could have been worse without some of the things that we're doing, and this is our effort. And then you get the stories of surrenders by bandits and all of that. But again, when you look at the numbers, the type of the numbers that the Guardian newspaper is pulling out this morning, you feel some sense of loss, some sense of sadness, almost hopeless sense if you are not careful.
Now, Emmanuel, let's look at the international papers. On Wednesday, I said the Prime Minister of the UK, Boris Johnson, was like a cat with 9 lives. He was going into Prime Minister's question time, basically under pressure over a COVID party. Since then, there's been now talk of 3 COVID parties. He's introduced new COVID measures which his own party are rebelling against. There's leadership contenders circling him. But on the plus side, his wife conveniently gave birth yesterday. Some would say naturally, some would say possibly not, to help with the headlines. Is this really a crunch time? Is this do or die for the Prime Minister now?
It is, but I think I like your description of him. He's always pulling out a surprise. The birth of his daughter yesterday probably would pull back a little bit of some of those criticism and critics. I don't know how much of that. Some of the papers totally ignored that aspect, that private aspect of the Prime Minister, but you see more parties' accusations coming up with even people questioning his integrity, the way he furnished his flat and all of that. But yes, elections are coming. We are all eyes on this Prime Minister to see how he pulls this off. But I'm sure his fan base will always like to say, well, he's doing what he can do, especially with those new measures, those new curbs on the COVID crisis. But we're watching the developments.
Indeed, I'm sure we'll see. But thank you very much indeed, Emmanuel, for your analysis this morning.